Okay, we're here with Tim Hall, the Hall Brothers Racing, and the last couple episodes we've talked about how they got their start with Heavy Metal and Big Boss, and then Executioner and Bulldozer, and it kind of worked its way into running a Dodge body. So
Yep.
kind of tell us how that all developed.
So we were running the Dodge body, and we were having pretty good success with that. And I got a call from Doc Riley, and he said, "Hey, someone from Dodge called. A lady named Kathy Graham called in. She wanted to know your phone number and stuff. Is it all right if I give it to her? They're wanting to get back. They had been, of course, with Fred, and
Yeah.
they'd been away for a while, and they wanted to get back, and they were wanting to talk to some teams. So I thought that was great, and we talked to her. We actually had her come to a race. They didn't have any Dodge stuff, when they were here. Nobody knew who they were.
Yeah.
They were just kind of low key.
Yeah.
And they came to some races with us, and we had a good time, and we hit it off. But it just kept taking forever for them to say, okay, yeah, we want to do this. They did interview some other teams and other very good teams, and that we later found out. And of course, we didn't know that at the time.
Yeah.
But there's supposed to be a meeting Thursday. Oh, the meeting got pushed off. It's next week. It's next week. Well, go and look for some new semis, because if we're gonna do this, we're gonna have to go real fast. And we're gonna, but don't buy them, because it may not. So that was like, oh my gosh, come on.
Yeah.
When he had old junk like we had, and here's a chance to get something new, and we were,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But fortunately, they called and they said, yep, we want to get back into the business and with your team, and we'd like to offer you a contract. And first thing I did was ran back to Mark and said, hey, somebody's going to pay us to race monster trucks. Believe it or not. And I don't think he could believe it. And then that very day, we went to the bank and told them, hey, look, we're going to do this new deal. And they took us to a room that I didn't even know existed. Up in the top there, where the tables are real nice and the big leather chairs, and that I thought I'd only seen on TV.
Yeah.
And all right, so what do we need? Just go write the checks, we'll cover them. And I thought, wow,
Yeah.
I didn't know business worked this way.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of fun. And then we got we went from just Tim and Mark to hey, we got to go really big, really fast now.
Yeah.
So we had to build some new trucks. We had to build display trucks. I had to go back on my University of Illinois education stuff, and I started looking at all the marketing things that I thought I knew about. I can handle this. And I quickly found out that I didn't know anywhere near what I thought I knew. This was a whole different ball game to get into when you start dealing with these corporate people. And the days of, hey, I'll put your name on my race car, and I can get you some exposure at the track, that's gone.
Yeah.
And then they started talking about return on investments and sales tracking and sales matching, and they wanted to do all these, you got to prove that the money they're going to spend is worth it.
Yeah.
And so that was a lot of things we learned. But nevertheless, here we are now, 17 years later, we're still with them.
It's amazing. And now tell us the kind of how it works out with you and Mark, because you guys are a real team. I mean, you both kind of have your gift or your talents, and you guys kind of work with that.
And that I guess it was developed by necessity, because we didn't have anybody else.
Yeah.
So you learn how to do this, I'll learn how to do that. And I built the motors. I was more interested in that kind of stuff. I built the motors, the differentials, the transmissions and stuff in the early days. I did all that. And I couldn't weld very well. I mean, I could lay a nice bead right beside the crack. It never was. So Mark could do a much better. That whole looking through the mask thing, I couldn't grasp that.
Yeah.
So he was really good at the welding and fabbing and stuff like that. And we still today build our own trucks, our own chassis.
Which is unusual now, because now, and we've talked about in other episodes, that anybody that wants to get into sport, it's turned into like NASCAR and all the other ones, where you can just call one of the major builders and say, hey, I want these parts, and you put it together like a model car kit. But the day of building your own stuff and having to think on your own is kind of over. But it's neat that you guys still build your own components.
We build them, and we we wrap them, we paint them, we do all that stuff ourselves. Mark does all the building, the fabbing. I do the electrical stuff. I do the motors, and then I do the business stuff. I talk to the sponsors, and we've been fortunate that we've added along the way. We added Hotsy that builds pressure washers, high-end pressure washers, industry leading in that business, and we've aligned ourselves with them. and it never, once you get a taste of this and you continue to work down this road, it tends to open other doors for you, which has been good. And right now we work on other deals that and we can show people, we can tell them, I'm not going to tell you what I can do, I can show you what I have done. And that's huge. Yeah, that makes a difference. That makes a difference. And we're fortunate, and we know that.
Oh yeah.
We understand that we've been, we were in the right place, the right time. All the years of working the excessively long hours and all of that. It's offensive and hurtful to read some of the things that when we first did this. There were a lot of people saying, "Oh man, that couldn't happen to better guys," and that was pretty cool. And then as you dominated, and we won a lot of championships on Georgia's series, and we won a lot. Then it became they just outspend everybody. Which isn't true. We learned how to race when we didn't have money. And
success breeds jealousy, and it's really sad. But there's a lot of jealousy and hatred towards people for successful, endeavors, but a lot of times people don't realize that success came at a price. I mean, you worked way more hours than the average guy, didn't sleep a lot.
That's right.
When I look back in my career, I think the longest I ever went was 3 days without ever any sleep, and I don't know how I used to do it, because now I really struggle if I don't get a good 4 or 5 hours of sleep. But now how many employees are you guys up to now?
Well, we have 8 right now, and it's been higher at times, and we probably need to add more. Like anybody with the current economic situation, you try to do as much as you can with as little as you can. But we have a really great group of guys, that understand what we're doing, that understand the corporate lifestyle that we have to live. Monster truck racing is a very little thing of what we do now. I mean, we do so much other display stuff and exhibit stuff and other events for Chrysler. We might be, or FCA, we might be at a motorcycle race, college football game, farm show, could be anything, country music concerts.
So with you guys have a lot of rolling real estate. I mean, the stress has got to be huge on your side, taking care of the business side. I mean, I didn't really realize some of the stress load until I got more successful and had more employees. But I mean, there's stress there that people don't see. So some people probably think you come across grumpy, which you're not. It's just the stress load of the environment.
Yeah.
So tell us, what do you do for fun? What's your hobbies, and when you have time to kick back, which is not very often, what do you do?
Well, people mistake seriousness, I think, sometimes for standoffishness or whatever, and they think you're not approachable or whatever. But they always, people would say, "Well, what are you worried about? Everybody gets paid the same." Well, no, not always. We got to answer to these sponsors, and they pay us a lot of money and they expect a lot for that. So that's what we do. But when I get time to relax, staying home is kind of I got a nice house that I can enjoy, and Vicki and I enjoy going to watching the drag races when we can, or other types of racing. I'm a huge racing fan. It doesn't matter what it is. I like to watch racing. I still like to keep up with the AMA flat track stuff. I like to watch that my dad used to announce. Because I kind of grew up going to the races, watching those guys. I like to watch that and drag racing, and it's Schumacher team. Those guys are buddies of ours, because that we met with the alliance through Mopar and Chrysler, and we became buddies over the years. So following them, and I've always been a John Force fan. I like to watch those. I like to watch those guys, and so that's what I do. My dad once joked. He said, "It seems like if it's not a sporting event or a race, you're not watching. It's all you ever watch on TV." And he's probably right. I just wish he was here to see the the success we've had now.
Well, I'm sure he'd be proud of you.
I hope
you guys have really done a lot. Done a lot in the monster truck industry. I mean, you guys have set the bar higher probably than any other team in the industry.
George Carpenter told me once, you've got the most professional operation I've ever seen in the sport, and that meant a lot to me. It meant a lot to me. Bob Chandler's made a lot of comments to me that have made me feel really good. I look up to him a lot, and we couldn't have done any of this without him. And I've tried to, we've had an intense rivalry a couple of times. We've banged heads, but we remain the best of friends, and I'm really proud that I've been able to do those guys proud and carry move the sport another notch, maybe.
Oh yeah.